All right, welcome to section 6B, where we look at descriptive statistics. A while ago, we have been looking at descriptive statistics. So actually this video, our focus is going to be on weighted averages, okay? So we looked at descriptive statistics earlier, all right? And that is what is showing. Okay, that's what we went through a while ago. So here we are going to be looking at descriptive statistics in this regard, and I'm going to give you the difference between the two. All right, now we looked at how the central tendency measures, and those were the mean, the median, mode, and range. One, let me give you a quick recap. For mean, we said to find the mean, what you do is you put all the elements together, or you sum all the elements and divide by the number of elements, okay? So you sum all the individual elements and then you divide by the number of elements, and that gives you the mean. To find the median, we said that order is important for median. All right, so make sure your data set is arranged in either ascending order or descending order, and then the number that sits right at the center is your median, or the 50th percentile. Now, I told you two things under the mean. I said that if you have an even data set, you are going to have two numbers sitting at the center of your data set after ordering, okay? And what you do is you sum the middle two numbers and divide by 2, and that gives you the median. When you have an odd data set, okay, you will only have a single number sitting at the center after you order your data set, and that number is your median, okay? Now, we went ahead and looked at the mode, and we said the mode is the number with the highest frequency. So the number that shows up more is your mode. And finally, we looked at the range, all right? And we said that the range is a difference between the maximum and the minimum. So the max is the number, the highest number, and the minimum is the lowest or the least. And then you subtract to find the range. Is that okay? Now, we also looked at skewness, okay? And symmetrical data set relative to mean and median. And we said that when you find your mean and you find your median, and you realize that the mean is equal to the median, you have what we call a symmetrical data set. Is that okay? That is one. Now, let's talk about skewness. Left skewed. When a data set is left skewed, the mean will be less than the median. That is left skewed. So when you find the mean and you find the median and you realize that the mean is less than the median, you have a left skewed data set. On the flip side, if you find the mean and the median and you realize that the mean is greater than the median, you have what we call a right skewed data set. Is that okay? So basically, that is all we looked at the early part of this section. Now we're going to be looking at what we call weighted averages and weighted averages on pages 61. Now, it's very important that I mention that your grade in this course is a weighted average of your homework, quizzes, tests, and projects. Okay, there are two methods for calculating weighted averages, using percentage weights or using counts if percents are not provided. You will get some good practical experience with both approaches and see how to use Excel for these calculations, okay? So there's a difference, okay? So we realize that if you took a closer look at your syllabus, you realize that different weights have been assigned to your homework, quizzes, tests, projects, and even your final. Your final is 25%, okay? Your quizzes are 5%, homework 5%. Okay, you're going to have two tests, and each of those tests you have 20% for each, and then you have your projects 5%. Is that okay? So this should tell you that these have different weights and they have different impact on your grade. So we're going to see how we can do that. So as part of this section, we're going to see how you can find your GPA, okay, how you can do your own calculations to find your GPA. GPA calculations will form a central part of this. Now, so this, let's discover this. So consider 20 quizzes, okay, with these scores. We want to find the mean of quiz scores. And you realize that to find the mean, you put all these individual numbers together and divide by the number of elements, and that gives you the mean, okay? Now, the first method, if you want to use weighted averages, okay, is that how many students earn a score of 10? And you realize 5, right? And how many students earn a score of 15? 5 on the same data set. And 20, you have 10. So it is easier to find the average by multiplying 10 by 5. So the number of students that earn a score of 10 multiplied by 10, okay, plus 15 multiplied by the number of students and 20 multiplied by the number of students. And then you divide by the total number of students, and that will give you the average as well. Is that okay? So this is pretty condensed and it looks much easier than, you know, adding 20 elements, okay? So the number of times each of these numbers show up, multiply by that number, and you divide by the total number of elements. That makes it easier. All right. Now, you can as well find the percentage of these, the number of times these numbers are showing up. What percent of students earned a score of 10? And you realize that 25%, okay? 15 is also 25%, and the remainder is 50%. Is that right? So when you do that, that will equally give you the same average. Is that okay? So you realize 5 out of 20 students had a score of 10, 5 out of 20 students had a score of 15, and 10 out of 20 students had a score of 20. All right, together the average gives you 16.25. Gucci? All right, awesome, nice. Now here, we look at the first weighted average formula, and we call it the weighted average by count. So value by count plus value by count plus value by count, okay, over the total number of counts. And that's what we used a while ago. So here, we want to see how we can find the GPA. Now, you usually hear that this class is a 4 credit, this is a 2 credit, that is a 3 credit, that's a 1 credit, okay? So here, we want to look at a typical class, a typical table for credit hours, okay? Now, so A is 4, and we know if you have all A's in your class, you are averaging 4.0, right? So A has a weight of 4, and B has a weight of 3, and then C has a weight of 2, right? Now, history, these are classes you took. So history, AMP, lab, and so on. Now, history is 3 credits. So if you get a C in history, that means the number that is assigned to each of these is what? 2, okay, each of these numbers. So C, you get a C that, and then you have a C in AMP, B, and these numbers are assigned. So what you do is that, now you realize that the total credit you have is 10. So that is the total credit for the semester. So we are now going to multiply each of these numbers, and that gives us that. And now you put all these numbers, you sum these numbers, you put them together, and you have a total of 32. So to know your GPA for the semester, what you do is you do 32 divided by 10, and you have a GPA of 3.2 for that particular semester, right? So that's your semester GPA. Gucci, sweet. Let's look at another one. So this is just a blank sheet that I provided for you so that you can use to find your own GPA, okay? to consider whatever that you have to do. Now, the second approach you want to look at is weighted average by percent weights. So typically, like your class that I just said, so tests constitute 60%, homework 15%, quizzes 25%. Okay, now if your average is 85 on tests, so you had 85% on tests, and homework you had 100%, quizzes 85%. Okay, we want to look at your grade for that particular course. So here, for homework, you scored 100. So this is test is 85, homework 100, and quizzes 85. Okay, so what do? We're going to multiply each this and that. And that will give us these numbers. Okay, and now you put these together, and that gives you your grade for the course. Okay, so you have 87.25 as your grade for the course, and that is what? That is a B if A is 90. All right, now is there a division step when using method 2? So here, let me give you the options. Now, don't forget that these are percentages. These are percentages. If you want, the other option you could have done is that you could have decided not to change these percentages to decimals. All right, that way you would just add, okay, your zeros, add the zeros, and then this was going to be 21.25, okay, 21.25. So this is 21.25. And then you put all these together, and because you're dealing with the percent, after you put them together, you are going to have 8,725, and then you divide by 100. That is when you decide not to change these percentages into decimals before the multiplication. Okay, sweet, nice. Okay, so right away, we want to look at what would have happened if your average on the test was 85 and your homework average is 100, but your quiz average is 25, drops to 25. Okay, you do the same, okay, and you do the multiplications, you put these together, and now because your quiz average drops to 25, now you have 72.25, okay, as your grade for the course. All right, now here, pay attention to this, please. Now, so your friend is in a science class where the teacher weights his grades so that lab reports 20%, quizzes 20%, okay, and midterm 30%, and the final is 30%. Now, you want to help your friend find his grade in this class. Is that okay? Now, you realize that for lab, you did multiple labs and you did multiple quizzes, all right? But you took a single midterm and a single final, right? We are going to see how you can find your grade in this course. And this is very simple, all right? Let's see how we can do that. So this is the report. Now, we have to find the average quiz score and average lab score. The average quiz score and the average lab score. What this means is that you have to put all the lab works together and divide by the number of lab works, and which is 5. And that gives you the average for what? Lab report. And you have to find the average for quiz. This is to help you get a single score for lab and quiz, okay? Just to match the midterm and the final. And now, because each of these have different weights, so lab is 20%, okay? Quiz is 20%, and midterm 30%, and final is 30%. You are going to multiply this by the weight and that by the weight, okay? And then the midterm, because the weight for midterm is 30, you multiply by that, and then the final by that, and that will give you your grade for your friend's grade for the course, for the science class. Gucci? Right, nice. Now, so your friend makes a C, and Let's see how we can apply weighted average to some daily life examples, all right, outside of the classroom. Now, a new local cafe wants to advertise an average price paid for a meal. Help them figure out an average if they sold 60 of $5 tacos and 32 of $7 sandwiches and 24 of $8 mixed salads on a given day, right? So you have been hired, you're a consultant, you have to make sure you find the average, right? You enrolled in a quantitative reasoning class and you should be able to do this. You want to find the average. Let's see how we do that, okay? So you put this on a spreadsheet or you put this on a table, okay? Does this resonate with you? Does something come to mind? So what do you do here? So you multiply the number by the cost, the number by the cost, the number by the costs, okay? You see that? Now, what is the total number that was sold? The total number that was sold is that. Now, this is how much money at the end of the day. So how do you find the average? Don't you divide the total amount of money by the number of meals sold, and that gives you the average per meal. All right? And you've got the job done. Man, good job. So let's look at this. Now, banks often use an average daily balance to assess the interest on loans. This is essentially a weighted average. Use the account information to the right to calculate the average daily balance for the month of April. I worked in the bank before and I used to do some of these analysis, okay? So this is practical, okay? So now for 6 days, this is how much balance the customer kept. And for 14 days, this is how much the customer kept. And for 10 days. Now we're looking at the month of April, all right? So how many days are in April, okay? Now let's see how we can do that. So to do that, you have to multiply the balance, okay, by the number of days kept. All right, and then you add all these and divide by the total number of days in April. There are 30 days in April, and this is the average daily balance of the customer. And you can use this to take a decision whether you have to advance, how much of a loan you can advance to the customer. Is that okay? Sweet. Number 4. Surveys are our daily lives. Now you go to a shop, you go to a restaurant, and you have to rate them. Okay, I'll give you a 4. I'll give you that. All right. Now, so this is a scale, and this is the survey report. Now you want to help the customer. You want to help the company to find the final score out of 5 with the survey question received. Right? Is that okay? So you want to find a score out of 5 that the survey will receive. And let's see. So now you do the same. You do 1 times that, 1 times that. Okay. And because we are dealing with a percent, you already changed the percentages to decimals. Okay. So you don't have to divide by anything at the end of the day. If you did not change these percentages to decimals, then you were going to just divide your result by 100. And because you did that, the scale is 3.64, okay, which is not bad, okay. Sweet. Number 5. The Happy Widget company lists average salaries for the various salary levels and the percent of employees at that salary level. Now, find the mean average of the salaries. Okay, so here you're just going to find the mean or the average of the salaries. So just focus on the salaries, right? There are weights. So for this step, we just want to look at the average of the salaries. So put all the salaries together, sum them, and divide by what? By 4. And that gives you the average salary. Now we are going to make some decisions right here. And you are going to realize that weighted average is very important in some of these respects. Now we want to find a weighted average. So this time around, we want to factor in the percentages that have been assigned to the various employee levels. Is that okay? So you do 500,000 times the percentage. Okay, so really this is what you're doing when you want to do the weighted average. Okay, and that comes to that. Now, we want to see more realistically which is a better reflection of an average salary at a company. Will you go for the weighted average or you will go for the average? Okay, now the average is 181,000. 181,000 is somewhere there. It's between here, 125,000 and 500,000, which is not a better reflection of the average, right? Now you realize that the weighted average gives you a better reflection. The weighted average is between that 67,740 is between that and that. And this is a better reflection. Is that okay? So when weights are assigned, the weights really help. They give you a better reflection. Since few earn very high salary, the weighted average reflects the average better. Is that okay? Sweet. And that is why you make this conclusion. Okay, now find the age of child attending this daycare. All right, so the age is 2, 3, 4, 5, and the number of kids that are there. And this is how you find the average age of kids attending this particular daycare. Is that okay? Good. All right, so here we look at how you can use Excel to explore, and all the steps that you need to go through have been outlined right here. So take your time and go through these steps one after the other and let me know if you have any concerns. Okay, good. Now we want to explore how you can use weighted averages to make certain judgments. So these are contestants, chefs. They decided to join a cooking competition, and at the end of the day we have to be able to pull all the scores of the judges together and decide who is the winner. All right, and weighted averages can help us, okay, to agree or have a very balanced judgment. So here the first judge decided to use these weights. So because the judges use different weights, okay, so the first judge decided that, okay, 25% will be for taste, 50% for presentation, and 25% for creativity. According to this judge, who is the winner? So now you have to apply the weights to the scores, okay? And according to the first judge, Scott wins this competition, okay? So that is according to the first judge. Okay, now let's look at what the second judge decided. The second judge decided that, okay, for me, taste is very important, right? Presentation is the next important thing, and creativity is the least. Now, we want to apply the weights to these, and Aaron wins by this calculation. Okay, right? Now, let's go to what Judge 3 says. Judge 3 has a different preference as well. So judge number 3 says that, okay, for me, presentation is 20% and both taste and creativity, 40%. Okay. Now, according to him, Alex becomes the winner at the end of the day. Do you see what has happened? Each of these judges have a different opinion on the contestants. Now, let's use weighted averages to decide. And how do we do that? So now we use Scott's total for judge 1, judge 2, judge 3, and Alex total, judge 1, judge 2, judge 3, and then Aaron's total. And now there's no dispute. Aaron is the winner of the contest. So this is how you can use weighted averages to simplify this kind of confusion. Okay, so these are practice problems, and usually I wish you go through these practice problems yourselves. and you can check back your results if really what you did makes sense or is in sync with what I have. Okay, so make sure you go through yourselves or yourself and check your result here. Okay, so this is queued, right? And check. Okay, nice. Let me know if you have concerns regarding these problems. Okay, sweet. So this is another typical example, just like what we had for Scott and his friends who contested for the cooking competition. And here Teresa wins. Okay, so basically that is all I have for you for weighted averages. And guys, thank you very much. And I will see you soon. Have a good time. Bye-bye. Thanks.